I remember is the Everett statue. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, in the, see, well, that would have been, what, 95 strike? 1995 strike. We were up there in the building, which, by the way, was another one of my assignments, was to oversee the building of the Everett Hall. And the building had been an old tavern. And so just prior to the strike, I had the contractors in, and we gutted that and made it usable for a strike headquarters. It wasn't complete by any means. And people would come in there and congregate, and we had a family come in. One night it was raining just terrible. It was just a downpour out there. And there was a man, a woman, and a couple of kids came in. And I told them, I said, well, you know, here's your picket station, you know, if the kids want to stay here and play in the building, you know, it's relatively dry and warm in here, you know, they could stand. Oh no, I want the kids to go with us. So the whole family is out there standing by a burn barrel in the rain, picketing. And so I thought, you know, that really, it really is touching. So I forgot who was, I think it was Truck Vandertorn and I think it was. We were sitting up there at the last day of the strike.
I think there was a few of us out there.
Well, there were several of us, but we had talked about the, you know, we should memorialize this in some fashion. Our members, Ken Lon, a local F retired member, is a sculptor. He works in iron. He's got several pieces across the country that he's done, including one at our headquarters down here. It's out on the lawn of our headquarters. So I called him up and I said, Ken, I said, I would like you to come up with a statue for us for this Everett Hall, and I'd like to have a family standing around, picketing around a burn barrel. And he said, okay. And so in about 3 or 4 days' time, or a week's time, he came up and he had pictures and an actual miniature model of the statue. And so I took that and I went to various, you know, organizations and our members and so on. We sold bricks to pave the courtyard up there, and that's how we raised funds for that. And a lot of controversy in that. Good art is always a little controversial because the company has, of course, hated it. They absolutely despised that thing, you know. They would take little shots at us every time about having it there. But people love it or hate it, and I think that's good art when you can discuss it. And I think a guy who came up with the best argument for it was Bill Johnson, who was our district president at that time. And the company said, every time we drive by that thing, we remind, you know, you know, you guys are striking and all this stuff. And Bill told me, he said, well, you know, when I drive by that, it reminds me that we have to do a better job when we talk to each other. And I thought that was pretty profound coming from Bill just off the cuff like that. He told me, you know, we need a better job of talking to each other, because that's the result of when we don't talk to each other. So anyway, that it stands up there. It has an eternal flame that is not always turned on. It's got a gas burner in the barrel, and I think it gets turned on for special occasions now, but it's essentially the eternal flame. Supported by many other labor organizations around the area. You go up there, you'll see their brick on the patio, and those bricks were laid by the Bricklayers Apprenticeship Committee. They came out there as one of their class projects and laid those bricks.
I worked for District 751 for 15.5 years. During that 15.5 years, I spent 8 years of it as the district secretary treasurer. We did some interesting things during our term. We started the use of an IBM computer. My predecessor had bought one. It didn't work, didn't do anything for us. So we bought a System 35 IBM mainframe. We transferred every computer in the system up at Everett in Auburn so that every computer could pick up everything throughout the system. And we could keep track of union dues, keep track of political ideology of the different people. It was a good system. We eventually got Boeing Company to give us the discs, or the tapes. And we would get a tape of all of the dues paid by all of the members that period of time. And we could run it and run a copy off of our computer. And we had the expediency of finding what was going on quite rapidly. Well, Secretary Treasurer, I bought a new computer for the dues office. And luckily we had it when the next strike occurred. Because at that time, the union, national, was running out of strike funds. And they would normally ship us the checks already made out, and what we had to do was disperse them through the employees. But when they ran out of funds, what do? Well, I had been able to save union money up to the tune of over $3 million that we had in the bank. And with the office team I had, my employees that worked for me, we wrote up in one payroll period 150,000 checks. That's to cover the 2 weeks and then the next 2 weeks that you float over. We were able to maintain the strike fund for every employee that was supporting the strike.
Jim, could you also talk, compare a little bit about what you think back then, what the strikes were compared to today's strikes, and how you see the difference of them?
Well, to compare those in the old, then and now, is a bit different because a lot of people don't understand that this is a way of making a good living. If you organize, you have a nice union supporting you, and one that is batting for the person that's in there for the right way, you can have a good life in some of the places. Now, sometimes when things are good, it's real good. When it gets bad, it's bad. But it should be like going home. It's what you do in the service of the union and the company that makes an impression on the people.